Yeah, there we go. Get the line, then we could share.
Okay, don't talk.
Okay, you ready? Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Pete Santola, and welcome. We got a great crowd this year. Happy New Year to everybody, to all our residents, and I'm excited. We have quadrupled. You're our student here. We five our residency from last December. So this is open forum for the Recreation Department, and the Recreation Department offers an open forum once a month on the first Tuesday of every month to allow residents to come in and talk about items of their concern, questions. It's a kind of open-ended piece. We do have an agenda just to organize, but certainly I know most of you here for particular areas. So thank you for signing in. And thank you for Cable again, and welcome to our friend from Cable, always doing a great job. Did everybody, I don't know if everybody has the agenda, but I'll just go through things and then we could stop and ask questions where we want. We have a lot going on in the Recreation Department. We're very pleased and grateful to the town council and the town manager for this opportunity. And we're really grateful to so many organizations and groups, Boys and Girls Club, the schools, Council on Aging, that are really trying to do a great job for our community. Recreation is just a portion of that. So I'll just talk about some of the things that we can impact. The first thing, part-time and seasonal opportunities. We generally hire a lot of young people or older people over the course of the summer, but now we still need a few more, even during regular time. So if you have a skill, if you want some part-time hours, we have an application. Applications online, and if you just go and fill it out and so on and so forth, it's pretty painless. But you could like to do activities if you bring an activity, or maybe you like to be a park ranger or so on and so forth. So that's our part-time seasonal opportunities. We're in the middle of what we call winter phase one, session one, and we got a lot of different activities going on. Thanks to Ernie Thibodeau, the face of the Recreation Department, does a great job, and Jimmy Katumas, our other full-time. And I just want to give out a shout out to Sean Delrose, who was started as our clerk a few months ago and has really done a great job for us. Some of our programming that we're doing now, little shooters, volleyball, co-ed volleyball, women's basketball, hockey, cops and rec. Very grateful to the police, cops and rec. I think we're doing cops and rec hockey and cops and rec dodgeball. But we have some new ones that I'd like to talk about quickly. February school vacation is coming up soon, February 18th to 21, and that's for young people grades 1 to 8, and that'll be held at the middle school. So if you're interested in a quasi day camp, sign up for the February vacation program. This is a nice program because, and we'll get to it later, we really don't have a lot of time in the gyms. It's not really anybody's fault other than we just don't have the capacity that we like. But the school department is nice enough. The Recreation Department, good evening, I'm sorry. Please sign in. Recreation Department has a community sports and games program, and that goes from 2 o'clock on a Sunday to 7 o'clock, and we have different age groups. So that's kind of an open gym. So from 2 to 3:15, we have families and open gym for K through 2. From 3:15 to 4:30, kind of like a middle school time frame. From 4:30 to 5:45, we have high school time, and then from 5:45 to 7, we have adult time. So that's a nice opportunity to come if you just want to hang out, do some things, use the batting cage. For our middle school students, we have middle school fun and game night. That's on most Friday nights, 6:45 to 9. Schedule's not every Friday because sometimes there's a dance or sometimes there's a middle school basketball game that goes after. But that's the middle school fun and game night. Women's basketball, I'll be honest, I used to be a former D3 athletic director, and I've been working from the recreation since 1976, and a lot of the time I was the commissioner of the men's basketball league out back, and all the ladies say, Pete, when are you going to do something for the ladies for basketball? And there's a real nice program over in Brighton, the Honan League that Joe Walsh does. So what we did is we took some time on Thursdays from 8 to 10, and we have an open gym program for ladies 18 and over. We have one person. So ladies, including my daughter, Victoria Boyle, age 24, former high school athlete, basketball player. I know it's a little late, but from 8 to 10 on Thursday, we also have a co-ed, adult co-ed volleyball program. We might have a question in the piece regarding the co-ed, and the co-ed program is for 18 and over, and we kind of split the gym, and we have those activities. Question from putting you on the spot, want to ask the question now?
Okay, sure. So, hi, Pete.
Hi. Check into that. They might.
Oh, sorry, okay.
Good.
So, yes, I was happy to see that there was going to be a volleyball program, and I would like to participate, but it's kind of late at night, and so I just wanted to give a little feedback that, if I'm sure there's gym and physical facility constraints, but if we can make it any earlier in the future, that would be really appreciated. But
Yeah. So thank you for your comments. I'm right with you. Really 8 o'clock to 10 is not the best time. Some people like it, but really it's not the best time. Even if we had it at 7 o'clock, I would think it would be helpful. You know what I mean? But what happens is during the gyms, the gyms are really taken up by the school department and the youth groups during the time, and we don't have the time. So the school department really has the gym most of the time till 8. And the youth basketball has the time. So technically recreation has priority, but it would be very difficult for me in my heart to kind of, make it harder for the kids, because if we said, we need it at 7, then we'd be impacting them. The answer to this, and the budget time is coming around, is really we need more recreational facilities for everybody. One of the things every budget cycle I put in for a new recreation center, it's really a tough time to do it now because of the community, the 3 elementary schools, 2 being redone and 1 being renovated. But one thing you could do that I've kind of hit a brick wall about, the size of the gyms. So the Hosmer School is going to get rebuilt, and the Hosmer School is completely going to be rebuilt, as well as the Cutoff School is going to be completely rebuilt. Lowell is going to be renovation. My recommendation was make those gyms the size of the middle school, where you have a divider in the middle so you have more flexibility. I don't know if that's going to go. That's above my pay grade. But if there's some, and that's how we could kind of do it, because it's hard. The after-school programs run after school, then we try to get in, then there's school athletics, youth groups. There's really not enough spacing and time. But, in terms of the middle school, there is a gym over the Phillips School. The senior center uses it. That could be a possibility, maybe get in earlier, but it's a good point to bring up, because the point is to try to get people there. Or maybe on the Sundays, if we put during the adult time, maybe we put a volleyball net up. So that's always a possibility. But thank you for that. One of the nice things, did anybody have any questions regarding that at all, or any concern? Feel free to pop in at any time. Yes.
Because you mentioned it, Andrew Costin, good to see you, Peter. Because you mentioned it, if, for instance, the basketball, in spite of the outcry for it, let's say by the end of the summer you realize that, whoever it was that was so vocal in requesting it isn't showing up, and, I think you mentioned there was just one person so far.
She's a trooper.
Yeah. But if that didn't materialize sufficiently to justify setting aside what you've said is a valuable time slot for...
You reallocate it.
Yeah, because we play pickleball at Newton and Waltham and Brookline, and Jimmy and Ernie did such a great job with the summer program here that people are talking about it and asking what we did for winter. And I'm telling them that I don't know what the winter program is for pickleball because there's an overflow of interest in the senior ranks and some interest in at the high school level either. We're seeing some kids come out. If you did have somewhere that you could do indoor pickleball here, you would have an immediate response of people showing up to take advantage of it. So, give basketball every chance it deserves, but
I would tend to agree with you, and I think there's some flexibility. Believe it or not, I don't know if you watch my Facebook, but we have a Metro West membership that's part of it, and they had me out there in pickleball. Now, as welcome council president Sedaris, I'm a self-promoter, and and of course I saw the athletic guys, so they had me go out there. Yeah. I kind of struggled, but it is a great game, and I think the problem we have is that we've been trying to find out what can you put on the floor that the schools will allow that's not going to damage the floor. And so some people said like a painter's tape, that comes up too easily, but there's another type of tape that we're going to look in. So, and feel free to keep, because I think you're right, pickleball, there's a lot of people who like it. So thank you for that comment. Anything else related to that? One of the other nice things,
Sorry, I just have a quick question.
yeah, you can have, absolutely.
Where's pickleball being played in the summer?
Victory Field.
Tennis courts or?
There's 10 pickleball courts.
Oh, actual okay.
Yeah. They use portable nets, and I believe this summer you can sign up and register for it, but non-Watertown residents can also drop in for $5, I think.
Yeah, but both of them could register. The first one, everybody was mad at me because I just wanted residents only. The second one, it was everybody.
It sounds like you're oversubscribed in the summer,
or? The summer program here wasn't oversubscribed. It was like Pete said, that it was limited to just the residents, whereas in other areas, you can register, but drop-ins are also allowed, and so Watertown will be doing that this summer.
Okay.
There's a lot of different models, and there's a strong pickleball community, and they wanted us to open it up first, and I was not sure, so we just kept it residents. The second one, non-residents. One of the things I'm going to get in trouble for is that, I get myself in trouble enough, but we painted pickleball lines on Victory thinking that the construction was going to happen this spring. Fortunately or unfortunately, Victory has been identified as a potential building site for the high school. So now we're going to go out and paint the tennis lines, which will make the tennis coach happy. So we're going to try to do a pickleball, and that's a good idea to kind of get back on it. And the other thing, at least in the spring. The other thing we have down at Philippa Park, the town did a great job. We have a pickleball court right down there. And it's a budget cycle now, so I'm trying to get a sleeve. It's hard just to put the net out there because the net will blow away or someone will take it, but we want to put a sleeve in there, almost like a tennis sleeve, so it's be permanent. So that would be a nice thing, but it'll be one court. But you're right on with the pickleball. Excellent point.
Thank you.
Very good. One of the things that we do, and we want to continue to do, is partner with different types of organizations in the town, especially where we might not have the facilities. So we partner with Artemis Yoga. So East End is an yoga, and we partner with them. They register through us and take their class there. And they do a great job in the East End, right by Mount Auburn, the Mount Auburn Grill, Dunkin' Donuts. And then we also have partnered with Launch Trampoline, and that has been a positive partnership. One of our outstanding town work is, I won't name her, but she says, Pete, why don't we have line dancing? And as Council President Sedaris, he did the Dancing with the Stars, but Councilor, I danced the first year. Thought I should have won, but it's a great event. I'm very competitive, but we're very fortunate that Ballroom in Boston is moving into Watertown, and I think they have a couple of days ago on Parker Street, 100 Parker Street. There's a batting cage in there and so on, and some new construction. So we met with them a few weeks ago, and we're gonna be offering 3 types of dancing. Aladdin Kids Dance Camp for grades 3 to 5, and that's gonna be starting on February 13th. And then we're gonna have, which I think this is a deal of the century, dance lessons for 18 and above. It's a membership for 2 months for $99. So you could go to any of their dance classes, and I'm not sure exactly what they're offering, ballet, tap, swing, rap. I'm not too sure, I'm kind of making this up. But there's a lot of, they do a great job. And so if you sign up, for instance, now, you could go February and March, try to get my wife do it, my daughter do it. I might do it, but I think it's a great price for $99. That's dance lessons. Then if you just want to go once a week to a specific, there's going to be line dancing on Mondays beginning February 10th. One of the things we constantly are challenged with, I think we do a great job with the young people. We're not really doing a great job of getting there with the adults and the seniors. Council on Aging does a real nice job with the seniors, and we don't want to step on toes, but we want to, we work with them to kind of cooperate with them and to try to give as many alternatives to our seniors as well as adults. One of the things we do partner with, like a ski and sports club for the middle-aged younger adults. Sometimes I get a little flack from that, but they offer a discount to the Watertown community. Anybody else on the program updates? That was some great feedback. The next one, the noise ordinance. Some of you, my young friend from Watertown, has been following, and I think a few weeks ago, they have a subcommittee, and it's a combined subcommittee. They had 6 town councils on the committee. For those who don't know, there's 9 people on the town council, and so there's 6. So when there's 2 subcommittees together, I think there's human resources, and so it's kind of been a very heavy discussion on the noise ordinance, and there's a lot of different opinions. So basically, my only comment was there's a concern about amplified sound. So when people rent our fields, there's some guidelines that there's no amplified sound unless it's the school or a recreation or might be a race or so on and so forth. So we're trying to be very respectful. But sometimes there's other guidelines that have been put in that I might not see 100% with on amplified sound. So one of the things, we always want to be respectful of the sound and the neighbors and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to talk. Did anybody have any questions on the amplified sound? So right now, there's a recommendation that will go to the town council. I'm not sure it's going to be going on that the first, or there still has to have some discussion. Yes, young man, grab that mic.
Hello, Antonio. My question would be, if I know they're doing amplified sound, I don't know a ton about the ordinance, haven't read it. Is there going to be any sort of meter decimal limits now? I know in the parks there's a total ban for like permanent events, but in terms of in general, what's the plan? Outside of permanent events, what's the plan for amplified sound? Is there going to be decimal limits on it? Is it going to be a complete ban? I think a good example would be like little personal music players people use, not the ones you can put headphones in, but you know what I'm saying? And I know some people use those, so my question is, what's the limit going to be on those? Or is it going to be a total ban outside of permanent events, just for general use? And does this affect that?
Very good question, young man. Our 9th grader from Watertown High. Basically, nothing has been finalized and approved by the town, and they're still finalizing some items. There is a stipulation in there that there could be some restriction on amplified sound, even by, a small item and so on and so forth. Amplified sound is, especially in today and age, it's very difficult. When you first hear amplified sound, you think of these big speakers, but as you know, a Bose or a phone, can pick out a lot of sound. So number one, we always need to be respectful of being too noisy, or sometimes I go down the park here and there's a group of middle schoolers and they're playing some music, and there's two issues I have with them sometimes, that the music is too loud and the music has some inappropriate content. So I'll go down there. But I think, my personal opinion, if somebody likes music and it's kind of helping them have a great experience and it's not above a decibel system and it's reasonable conversation, I think it's okay. But, so I think that town council meeting is going to be very interesting. There'll be a lot of dialogue regarding that. And so in terms of other things like snow blowers, I mean, there will be a decibel level. I wasn't a scientist like that, so I'm kind of, when I was at the meeting, but the last meeting they had here was like 3 hours and 15 minutes, and it was very passionate. Council President, did you want to say anything?
No, it's still not ready for prime time.
Yeah.
It's being reviewed by the attorneys.
Right.
And, we'll have a full council hearing, and I anticipate a lot of discussion about it.
So thank you very much. But I really want to thank our ninth grader from Watertown High coming here, Antonio, great job. Appreciate that. The budget process, does anybody have anything that they want to talk about, or they want me to just continue to go through this? Budget process, basically, and not because the town council president is here, but the town really does a great job with the budget process, and we're one of the few towns that really are in very good financial shape. We could say that, and that's thanks to the leadership. Every department, Mr. Tracy, who's the town auditor, sends out a document that was designed by the town council about a budget process. So right now, I'm in my final stages, and it's due Thursday, where we have an operational budget, where we itemize things on programs, equipment, and so on and so forth, in addition to full-time salaries. We haven't really any impact on the full-time salaries. I might make a recommendation if I think we might need more part-time salaries, or, over time, I can make that recommendation. Or if there's something special, there's a special segment there that I could say, geez, I really think we need this. It's a good process. I'll pass in the form on the 9th. Then I think at the end of the month, we'll have a meeting. So it's a very thorough process. It's kind of an exhausting process, so that's how your budget is designed. Any questions about the budget? Yes, sir.
There's a question.
Great to see you. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, Bob Shea here. Just a quick question. A question came up last night at another meeting in this room. Does anybody know where the Fair on the Square budget resides? Whose budget responsibility is that? Would you know, or Mark, would you know?
The town auditor handles it, and the Fair on the Square is kind of, it's not really set up as a revolving fund,
Mm-hmm.
but typically, whatever comes in goes out from the donations.
And I know, in addition, John Flynn and my friend Dana, go ahead, Council President.
Tom Tracy typically handles the budgetary items, and typically in this line item, there's whatever comes in for donations from the savings banks and from the sale of the tables and the rental of the tables, that's what pays for the fair. There's really no line item budget for it.
So it's kind of in a sort of a slush fund that we have for in and out type of stuff.
Not really a slush.
Well, that's a loaded term, I know. Sorry. Anyway, okay, thanks.
And I will say and give kudos, John Flynn's department works on it, and as well as my good friend Dan McCarthy. And Danny does a lot of great stuff and goes out and gets the bands and so on and so forth. So thank you for that. The other thing is one of my favorite times, is the dear and dear to my heart, is the capital improvement plan. The capital improvement plan has been a great opportunity. It's not just for recreation, but when I was hired, I thought that I was really excited about improving our facilities. And Mr. Tom Sullivan did a great job, previous director, on the tot lots and so on and so forth. And then when I arrived here, the town council was ready and able and supportive on a lot of capital projects. So some of the items that are in the mix right now, the Philip Field light and scoreboard. So at Philip Powell Park, The entryway has been done. It looks great. Dog park, courts, new parking, new lighting, looks gorgeous. Yes, we do have a work order, sir. And now a lot of the lighting needs to be improved, and the town council, town managers understood that. So we've been very fortunate. We moved forward for a design of lighting at Philippello. So right now, there's lights at Philippello Grove Street. Does everybody know what Grove Street is, the softball field? Now, the wooden poles are back, probably from the 70s, from the natural. They took it from the natural. They put a couple of lights out in center field, the metal lights. So we're going to put 7 poles at Philippello Grove. And the other thing that's going to happen is we're going to put 4 poles at Philippello Arlington. So both of those fields are going to be lit. So it's really going to help our capacity. And it's also going to help our efficiency and effectiveness. We're very, the old lights, they're like floodlights. They go into neighbors. These lights are almost like laser beams. So that really helps the neighborhood and be respectful of that area.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
So,
you could talk in the mic.
sorry, so, on the, Arlington side,
Yes,
right now, there's lights that are solar powered, right? Because they can't, am I talking about the right area?
the entryway to Philippello, there's 9 solar lights, but those
Right.
are for the little grass area.
Yeah, for the dog park. So you're talking about, so you're saying that there's gonna be lights put in Grove Field,
The field.
okay? And then you mentioned someplace
I
else,
call Philippello Arlington, because the Arlington Street side, there's 2 fields.
right?
So I call Philippello Grove the softball piece,
Got it,
and
okay.
Philippello Arlington, the other rectangle with the big top lot.
All right, thanks, sorry.
Yeah. And again, for people who don't know, back in the day, that used to be a softball, baseball field in the 60s and 70s at Philippello Arlington. Because we used to get, there was never lights at Philippello Arlington. And yes, there was, because Philippello Grove was the dump. And the front of Philippello was the incinerator. So we're very excited about that. So yeah, we went out to bid. The bid was good. Now we go through a process of making sure that the contractor is the right contractor and they could do the job for the price. And then we'll go in front of the town council, what they call a first reading. So the town council town manager will talk about it. And then the second meeting will be a vote by the town council. So hopefully we'll have a positive vote. And if all things go well, we'd like to have those lights in by July 1st at the latest. That'll be a nice thing. Salt install top lot out here. We have money to replace that top lot on the long side. We have designed lights and we've done borings. I don't know if you knew what the borings are. So anytime you put these big poles in the ground, you need to test the soil. So we've already done that. So hopefully that's going to happen. Casey Park Field. The town was nice enough. If you everybody know what Casey Park is? That's where the 2 tennis courts are and the multi-purpose hockey rink and the Little League field and the tot lot and the basketball courts by California Street. It's a beautiful park. So at the time, we just couldn't afford to finish the baseball side. So on the baseball side, which is a home of Watertown Little League, we're hopefully going to put baseball amenities and new lighting there. So that's going to be a plus. And this all is this is a plan. This doesn't mean it's definitely going to happen. We have money, hopefully, to put the whole tot lot surface, not the front tot lot, because that's going to be part of the renovation, but the back tot lot, it floods and it freezes. And then we have a couple of the Victory Field complex. It's in process. There's been a lot of discussions. We've had a Victory Field ad hoc committee, but now the school building board has selected that as a potential building site for the high school. So the school building had identified 3 areas. They identified Victory, DPW, that area. This is very rough, but because we're going to get money from the state, we have I don't know exactly what the name is, but we get money from the state, so we have to identify several areas that is a potential site, and then they'll go through the process of weeding it out. Tomorrow there's a meeting at 6 o'clock to talk about that. So that's kind of on hold, as well as Moxley Park, that's another potential location for the high school. Arsenal Park is it's under the care and custody of the conservation. The Arsenal Yards is moving quickly, and we're still in the process of figuring out finally what we're going to do with the Arsenal, but especially the hard court area, that area is kind of in rough shape, honestly, so hopefully we could take care of that. The other area, all the area needs renovation, but the immediate area is that hard court surface area. Yes, sir. Yes.
Have you selected opening and closing dates for the pool yet?
Unfortunately, the pool is under we don't own the pool at Pleasant Street. It's under the DCR, Department of Conservation and Recreation. So they're the ones that select the date for open and select the date for close. Yes.
I'd just like to ask a question about the meeting tomorrow. What are the details for that? Because I knew there was a meeting tomorrow, but I haven't been able to locate the exacts.
I know the meeting's at 6 o'clock and it's upstairs. It's down here. It's down here in the lower hearing room. If you go online, school building committee meeting. So you could either go on if you go on our website and if you look at the calendar, you could click information there. If you go on the school's website, or go in and ask the principal tomorrow, but that'd be great for you to go. So any other questions about the potential capital improvements? One of the programs I forgot to mention was the Wachusett Mountain, one of our most popular. For middle school and high school, we get about 80 students. The weather's really not cooperating. We had to cancel last Saturday, but 80 plus students will be going out on Saturday skiing at Wachusett Mountain. Anything else about capital? Snow removal program. So we have in conjunction with the Council on Aging, Anne Marie Gagnon, we've offered a snow removal program for our seniors and those who will need. Unfortunately, sometimes what's happening, we're getting a lot of people. Thank you, Council President. Yeah, thank you. We're getting a lot of people signing up. Unfortunately, we're not getting as many students to pair them up, so it's a work in progress. So if you know any high school or middle school students that want community service, it's a great option, and go from there. And ultimately, a lot of the seniors are, who are able, they're willing to pay for it. I don't get into that, but so that's a great service.
So Peter, actually, Andy and I are here on the subject of snow shoveling because the Watertown for All Ages did a survey of Watertown seniors' transportation needs, and interestingly, you think of transportation, you think cars and things like that. There was a significant, we held a bunch of focus groups across the town, and we really heard from seniors, particularly those that can't drive or drive as much, that walking is a big part of living in Watertown for them, and the snow shoveling thing is driving them nuts. So Watertown for All Ages is collaborating with the Bike Ped Committee to bring together the different groups in town that are really concerned about getting all the sidewalks shoveled. The high school program, which was earlier Kenny Woodlands, and it was more middle school, to get shoveling done for seniors that can't do it themselves could be an important part of it if we could bring that alive. But we also are going to be looking at town ordinance that would put more pressure on landlords in particular to shovel their walks so that people with disabilities, older people walking dogs, kids walking to school are going to be able to go without walking out in the street on snowy days, which we all know is dangerous. So I just, Andy and I wanted to say that we're going to be working on this. We welcome the support, cooperation, you guys, whatever we can do working with your program to bolster that. I think we'll be having a couple of workshops, bringing people in from all sides to talk about the things that are holding things back, things that we could do to make it work better. So just wanted to put that out there.
That's great. I'm full support of that. I think because I'm even thinking of a little different model next year, because the community service doesn't seem to be working, you know? And so I know Council Woodland had some money and so on and so forth, so, you know, one of the things that recreation, I haven't done a good job of is kind of trying to get grants. So I think somebody mentioned to me that maybe I could get a grant and be able to give the kids a little stipend, and that might be more appropriate
Yeah.
or so on in the idea. So
I mean, it could,
I'm open to
it,
any ideas.
it could be working to the town budget too, if, you know, at a certain level. Anyway, we need to brainstorm it, bring all the different interested parties together to see if we can come up with an ordinance that works and we can get this dealt with in this town. The last effort was 8 years ago, and it made a small step, but we need to make a bigger step this time. Anyway, that's.
I think it's important.
Do you mind if I add? So Peter, I think we kind of appreciate your kind of, taking over the volunteer program. But I think I was in the earlier meeting where you talked about it, and it sounded like you were suggesting that it needed more incentive. There needed to be more incentives behind it. And I think that I think the majority of people probably want to see a residential snow removal program, but the two areas of concern are enforcement, which I think we've addressed because now we have an enforcement officer, and now is, what do you do about the situation where there's people who aren't physically or financially able to comply? And that's where a volunteer program comes in, but it sounds like you're struggling with how to incentivize, if that's a word.
Yeah, no,
Program.
you're right. I mean, I try.
So we've had some thoughts around that.
Yeah.
I think that's all part and parcel of coming up with a strategy and to kind of implement this. So, if there's any thoughts that you have or options that you can think
I'm
of.
wide open right now. I mean, because there's nothing that hurts my heart more. We have like 30 people signed up, and they call me, Pete, I'm desperate. And I have people who used to coach me who give me a hard time. And I feel a little guilty, because we advertise this and I'm not really be able to produce. Thank God, other than the first couple, it hasn't snowed, so I'm almost like, please don't snow.
So it's a simple issue of supply and demand.
Right.
And this is before there's any ordinance in place that compels people to have to do it. So what's your sense of the numbers right now?
Well, we have 30 signed up and we have 30 seniors signed up, or a couple of handicap, and 5 helpers. And I was going to make another, after I did the budget, and sometimes we're so stretched out, so I technically, I want to go to the schools myself and try to make a little push, trying to make a little connection. The other thing that's frustrating, we hire about 80, maybe not that many, maybe about 50 high school students over the summer. I'm trying to put a little pressure on them to help out. I think I could do more. I need some help though, and I think getting a bunch of different pockets together would help.
We're thinking, if there was sort of a collaboration behind this, there'd be a
Certainly.
lot more leverage to bring to bear to see some of these.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
So I'm open ears and open eyes. I'll be happy, to get involved. So thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Thank you.
And again, one of the things with me, sometimes we'll have these conversations and then I'll fade away. Just bring me back, like with the volleyball or the pickleball. It's okay to just call me. It's not going to hurt my feelings, because sometimes I'm just, just feel free. But thank you. I know you've been hearing a lot about that, but we have Bruins tickets left. No more Celtics tickets, thank God. Buckingham, Brown, and Nichols. Does anybody know about the background with Buckingham, Brown, and Nichols? So for those who don't, we go back to Philippelle Park, and there's a parking lot adjacent there. So there's a parking lot adjacent is owned by the Mount Auburn Cemetery and rented out, leased out by the Mount Auburn Hospital for parking. They have called a 10-year, is it the Sunshine Rule? Thank you very much for coming. They have a 10-year window, and after 10 years, they'd had to do something. I don't know the specifics, but basically what's happening now, the Mount Auburn Cemetery has put the property up to purchase, and it's a very valuable property. And so now Buckingham, Brown, and Nichols, which is a private school that's probably less than a mile away, has put in a presentation that they want to buy the property. And as part of buying the property, they would put 2 artificial turf fields there, a small facility and parking, and then have a partnership with the town of Watertown. The Mount Auburn Cemetery, they have a board of trustees, and they were supposed to vote on it in December, but I think there was a lot of pressure, there was a lot of things going on, so they pulled back. And I, from the latest I hear, there might be some conversation in January. But obviously, if you own a piece of property, you have to do, the trustees have to do what's best for the Mount Auburn Cemetery. I know the town and its leadership is trying to convince them that having Buckingham, Brown, and Nichols would be the successful candidate, but that's a decision that the cemetery will have to make, and we just have to respect that. Yeah, go ahead.
So I think there was a lot of news about this maybe a couple months ago, and I was reading a lot of articles, but it sounded like there was some sort of involvement with access to Filipello as well.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I didn't, so part of the arrangement would be as a tentative piece, if that happened, and they built the two fields, then during the afternoon, Buckingham, Brown, and Nichols would use the two artificial turf fields they have, plus the two grass fields they have. So they would have 4 fields.
And 2 of those fields would be Filipello.
Right.
Yeah, it would be Filipello, it would be Filipello Grove and Filipello. Because right now, they have students, it's not really our issue, but they have students from all over the place, and they really need to get them home. We need to get our students home as well, but that's the plan. And then we would get the field, Watertown would get the field, 5:30, 6 o'clock, so we would have 4 fields. So then we would have 4 lit fields. So with the lighting of the 2 grass fields, plus the 2 turf fields, you could really add capacity.
So 1 + 1 = 3, in a sense.
It would be helpful. Some people didn't really understand. They thought we were losing space. But
Right.
we really, because technically, our youth groups don't use that field in the afternoon.
Yeah, I think there was some confusion around
Yeah,
it.
there was a lot of confusion, and they thought they were losing. And, they don't really use it. Right now, Buckingham, Brown, and Nichols and Shady Hill uses those fields in the afternoon. Now, here's the other caveat, though. The Hosmer School is going to be closed in July. They're going to start construction.
Wow, that quickly.
Connell Field, which is adjacent to that, will be closed for at least 2 years. The high school JV soccer and varsity softball uses that field in the afternoon. They're going to need to find another home. So their softball field especially, so that's why it's a fluid discussion, because basically I think during our construction time, the schools are going to use Filipello in the afternoons. In the past, they usually use that in soccer. Before the turf came in, they used that for soccer.
Oh, so you're more than comfortable with this proposed arrangement?
I'm very comfortable with
Okay,
it.
good to know. Okay.
It is a little give and take, and Buckingham, Brown, and Nichols understands that. Again, there's a time frame here. So even though it's going to be, they might make a decision on who buys the property, I think it's, excuse me, I think there's, and don't quote me, but 18 months, 2 months before there's an actual transfer of ownership, and then there'll be another 18 months to build the property. So we're talking 4 or 5 years out, where hopefully O'Connell could be back. So there's a lot of fluidity on that. That's why going in the school building committee is important, and so on and so forth. But I certainly think it's a bonus, because I'm excited about the lights going in. And then if you have 2 more fields, you're going to add capacity. And like I said, the youth groups don't use it in the afternoon. They might come in at 5:30 or so on and so forth. But yes.
Have you or anyone else in your department seen used hypodermic needles on the fields that you take care of?
So some of you know, some of you don't know. Watertown is unique that it's recreation and then parks department. The maintenance is under the DPW. They do an outstanding job. In addition, so there's 3 people looking out for that. Recreation people, we go out, when we're out in the parks, we're always looking for those type of things. The parks department do a great job of that. when the schools are out there, they're always watching for that, youth groups. So everybody's been very good on a watch and lookout. I haven't heard of any issues of that like we've heard from other communities. So we're very fortunate. We're very fortunate on that. There hasn't been any concern that I've heard of that we've had concern with needles. Good question.
Thank you.
And the other thing, for picnic and field applications, we're accepting applications for the use of the fields now. And so we get a lot of applications, but the priority is the schools. So Ryan Murphy's doing, the athletic director, did a great job. He's already given me the applications. We've had several youth groups. So those are the priorities. So after that is done, then we there's other adults that want to use the fields. Yes, sir.
Hello, me once again. I'm wondering, I know you guys have a website. I know you can check availabilities of field use for that day. Is there potentially going to be like a tracking system? I know some towns do have it where you can, I know Newton has Newton 311 where people could, you could type in and say, I have a requested field, like an online form, and then people could track it online. Could that potentially happen, or is brick and mortar working right now?
No, we have an online system where if you, and I could show you, if it's on our website, if you go to online registration and you go to facilities, there's a calendar. So say you're working on a particular day, you could click the day and the field, and you could see if it's being permitted. So we already have that online. I don't know if that's exactly what you're looking for. Is that what you mean?
I think I knew that you guys had that. My question was, is there any chance applications could start being submitted online potentially? People could submit it online and use the paper form if they wanted to, but it was up to them, or is that not necessary right now?
Well, the issue is our software would allow somebody to actually tentatively reserve a park, but we don't allow that to happen because we have a priority use. So what would happen is you might have some adult groups, ski and sports club, register, and then we'd have to cancel it and so on and so forth. So we want to make sure that the Watertown residents, Watertown organizations first, and then secondary others.
Thank you.
Very good question. You have some great questions today. Yeah.
Even if, let's say hypothetically that a group of political activists wanted to use a Watertown field to hold a rally for or against a cause or a candidate, even if that's a low priority, lower than the use of the schools, could that still be arranged?
Any organization could request a permit to utilize a facility. The second question is, if it's a political rally, are there other permits that need to be addressed? And the town clerk might know that. So if an organization came to me to utilize a field, they would have to go through the same permitting process. But there might be some additional permitting that might be necessary. I don't really know, unfortunately, the answer. I don't know if say, for instance, if you have a political rally out here and you're going to have 500 people, are you going to need police presence? Does a town clerk have to give a permit? But it would start with me. It would start with me, and if I received the permit, then I would probably ask around to see what else you would need. One of the things that you folks have been great. We started the year off great questions, great conversations. We have, if anybody has a question, you could go online and send an email to parksrec@watertown-ma.gov. So for instance, if you go down to Philippella, one of my frustrations, the new fence is down right at the entryway. But somebody sent an email and they took a picture and they sent it in. And that email goes to both the Parks Department and Recreation. So that work order is in. Does anybody have any last questions? Or you folks have been really terrific and I appreciate the conversation. Feel free to follow up though. Sometimes we have these meetings and then we don't see it. Come into, if you want to do something specific, we could set up private meetings or, come in the office and because I think you folks are right. I think, sometimes when one group is working on something, it's far more effective if a bunch of groups get together. So we'd be happy to work with that for the benefit of our residents. Okay, anything else? Yeah, we're busy. It's good. And it's good. And then, it's nice. And like I said at the start, there's a lot of groups and organizations. Like the bike ped thing, I haven't been to a meeting. Every time I have to go to the meeting. And so there's a lot of great stuff going. And you try to understand and support what you can. So, but on behalf of the Watertown Recreation, I'd like to thank you folks here. Great conversation. This is probably the best open forum meeting in a long time. The conversation's great. And let's follow up with some action items and get some results. So thank you very much, and Happy New Year to everybody. Very good. Thank you.